Staar here in the office of the Always Believe House. Oh, today we're going to rock and roll starting off 2021 with Staar Review 17. Ho, 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 ho. So let's rock and roll and have some fun. I am glad to see your faces even though I'm not seeing you. It is good to be back teaching you how to do outro. So a magical whiteboard appears and we're going to graph some lines. Oh, ho, ho, ho. So we're on Staar Review 17 and these lines are written in point slope form. So let's get our point. Okay, so on number 1, and I'm going to zoom in right here, we have this would be our x. The opposite of a -3 is a +3. This would be our y. The opposite of a +5 is a -5. And this is our slope, -1/3. So we're going to graph the point and trace the slope. Okay, so we're going to go over here. We're going to graph 3, -5. And then our slope is -1/3. So down 1, right 3. And then we're going to go backwards and graph as many lines as we can. So we have this line, don't we? And we have this right here. It has the equal bar, so it's a solid line. And then we're going to shade it later. So let me draw a better line here. So this is what our first line looks like. Oh. First thing in 2021 is graphing a line. Oh, let's go to the next problem. On this problem here, we have it in standard, don't we? Okay, so we're going to do, remember how to get the x-intercepts and the y-intercepts. It's ax, and let me see where can I write this down here. Just put it at the top of the page. ax plus by equals c. Okay, the x-intercept was c over a. The y-intercept was c over b. And the slope is -a over b. Hopefully you remember that from the fall. That's if you're given standard, that's how you get those intercepts. So -12 divided by 1 is -12. We won't be able to graph that because the graph won't go to -12. -12 divided by -3 is a +4, and the slope is going to be -1 over -3, which would be a +1/3, would it? Okay, so we can't graph the x-intercept, but we can graph the y-intercept. The y-intercept is at 4, and let me do this in purple. The y-intercept's at -12 divided by -3 is a +4. And I think I messed this graph up. And our slope's 1/3, right? So up 1/3, up 1/3, down 1/3, down 1/3. We have this, don't we? Ho, 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 ho. Okay, now then let's go through and graph the next lines. This line will be x greater than -3. So x equal -3 is going to go through the x-axis at -3, which is right here. Going to go straight up and down. Then let's graph x. Let's do another color here. Let's do green. X less than 3, which will be right here. It'll go just like this. Ho, 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 ho. And then we're going to graph y equal 5. And y equal 5 will be at the top, and we'll put it up here. So notice this does not form anything. I did not do this correctly, okay? Okay, we can still answer the questions. We're not going to shade on this, though. Okay, we're going to answer the questions. We're not going to shade. What is the slope of 3b? The slope of 3b is right here. An x-equal line has an undefined slope, right? What is 3c? A y-equal line's flat. It has a 0 slope. Do not do number 5 because I messed up on this, so we're not going to shade or nothing. What is the solution set of this line and this line, which is number 1 and number 3? And it is going to be, the x-intercept is going to be, -12. Or 0, -12. These two lines would cross at the -12 if you kept going, okay? Can't really see it. The root or 0, this right here is the x-intercept. The x-intercept of that line is going to be -12. Because if you keep doing the slope, if you keep going up 1/3, up 1/3, it would cross the x-axis at -12. So that's how you get that. Sorry, I messed up on these lines. Hopefully you remember how to graph those, okay? We're not going to shade because it doesn't form a shape. Let's keep going. Number 8 and 9, we will do those tomorrow. That's what the lessons are about today, is exponents. The next 2 months are going to be pretty tough. Be the hardest 2 months of the class. Now then, let's go to number 10. We need to remember how to graph this. We're going to learn what this function is this year. You're going to start learning about this. You've been doing it since the spring. So we're going to graph this line. So I'm going to go to the calculator and show you how to do this again. We're going to graph the line. We're going to hit Control T and we're going to write down the answers, okay? So I'm going to go to my calculator. Okay, when you are on the calculator, make sure, and my calculator's way off here. Okay, I'm just going to keep it like this, okay? Because you can't see it all, but if I move it around, it's going to be hard to do pitching it wise, okay? Anyway, let's go. I'm going to hit home, and then I'm going to go to graph, which is letter B. Now I'm at graph. Now that I'm going to graph that line. So I'm going to notice it has my F1x equal. And I'm going to graph x squared minus 8x plus 15. So x squared, and use the number to the left of the 4 for your squared. Is it minus 8x? Minus 8x plus 15. So minus 8x plus 15. And that's going to give me a graph that looks like a curve like this, right? Once you have that graph, you hit Control T, which stands for table. So Control T gives me the table, right? I'm going to hit the up button once. Okay, and I need to go back down because it goes way up. I don't know why it does that on mine. Okay, so I have the table right here. These are going to be my answers, aren't they? So I'm going to go back to the worksheet. And I want to know 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 0 is 15, 8, 3, 0. So 15, 8, 3, 0. 15, 8, 3, 0. And then we have negative 1. And let's keep going down. Negative 1 and 0. So I'm going to go back over here. Negative 1 and 0. Okay? So if I input my domain, I output my range. If I input 0, I output 15. If I input 1, I output 8. Basically what's happening, and I'm going to do this only once, if you were to write this down, notice I replaced the x's with parentheses, didn't I? And if I were to plug in these numbers, let's just take 3. If I were to put 3 in here, if you were to put these into a calculator, you would get 3 for the answer, okay? Because it's 0, 1, 2, well, you would get 0. Because 3 gives me a 0, doesn't it? Okay? So these are the numbers that you plug in and it outputs that as a number. When I was in school, I had to manually calculate it. Now you have a calculator to do that. The domains that are the zeros are the x-intercepts. That's going to be this number here and this number here, which is 3 and 5 in it. Okay, so if you were to write these as ordered pairs, your 3 would be a 0 and your 5 would be a 0, right? If I input 3 as x, my output would be y as a 0. That's what a 0 is. It's a huge concept you're going to get later on this year. Let's go to number 11. Factoring is going to be a big part of this. We're going to get in factoring late January. It's a huge concept. That's probably one of the most important things you're learning how to do in algebra this year. So if you were to write this as a fraction, and then you were to simplify it, you would write this as 8 times 3 times x, or let's say, not 8 times 3. Yeah, the common denominator is going to be 8. So let's do 3 times 8 times x, and 4 times 8 times x. You could scratch out an 8 and you could scratch out an x. Just like simplifying a fraction when you were in 5th grade. And you learn how to reduce fractions, okay? So I could divide both of these by 8x. And then I'm going to divide by 8x up here. 8x is like your Bluebell truck. And let me write this further down. So 24x squared divided by 8x would be 3x. That's what I have left on top of it. Minus, and the only thing I have left on bottom is a 4, right? And guess what happens if I multiply this? I go up to my answer, don't I? So when you factor, you're pulling out that Bluebell truck that you're distributing. That's what that does, okay? Well, let's go to number 12. Should be remembering how to do this. We're going to do sign, number, letter, exponent 3 times. So 25 divided by 5 is 5. X to the 4th over x squared. I got 4 x's on top, 2 on the bottom. I can scratch 2 out. X squared. I'm going to subtract my exponents. 4 minus 2 is 2. Then I'm going to do it all over again. Sign, number, letter, exponent. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 35 divided by 5 is 7. I have 3 x's and 2 x's. 3 minus 2 is 1, so I have x to the 1 or just x. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. 15 divided by 5 is 3. And x squared divided by x squared, they're all going to cancel out. It's just 1. So this would be my answer. And if I were to take my denominator and multiply that, I would get my numerator, wouldn't I? Just like a regular dividing problem. Let's go to 13. Let's solve for x. Okay? In Algebra 2, you will learn to know that this is the inverse of a function. Okay, so we're going to get rid of the fraction. So the denominator goes to the left and the numerator goes to the right. This is an equation and point slope in it. So I'm going to have 2y plus 24 equals 3x plus 12, and I want to solve it for x. So I'm going to move the 12 to the left, and I'm going to get 2y plus 12 equals 3x, and then I'm going to divide everything by 3. And I'll get x equals 2 over 3y plus 4. Which, like I said, in Algebra 2, you will learn that that's the inverse of a function. Most of the time in Algebra 1, we're solving it for y. You need to learn how to solve for x. Future years, that's why you're in pre-AP. Let's go to number 14. We're finding the slope here. Huge concept. You will have to find the slope on your STAR test, so make sure you get its constant rate of change. So right here, remember your slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I'm going to draw a fraction bar. 3 minus 5 over 10 minus 2. If you punch this in the calculator, you will not miss it. It's going to give you negative 2 over 8, which is negative 1/4. Going down to the next one, this right here is my slope, negative 2. Right here, remember, it's negative a over b, which is going to be a negative 4 over negative 3, which is a positive 4/3. And then on the last one right here, this is point slope. My slope is right here. Piece of cake. Continuing on, let's go to number 15. Okay. We're going to graph these by getting the x and y intercepts, okay? And the slopes, okay? So on this one right here, 15 divided by 1, my x is going to be 15. I can't graph that. 15 divided by negative 3 is a negative 5. My y is negative 5. And my slope is going to be negative 1 over negative 3, which will be positive 1/3, right? Remember that negative 3 is going to make it a positive slope. So I have that. Let's go to the next one. Negative 6 divided by 2. My x-intercept's negative 3. Negative 6 divided by positive 3 is a negative 2. And then my slope is going to be negative 2 over 3. Now then, let's graph these, okay? So we're going to graph, both of them have solid lines. So let's graph the first one here. So my x-intercept's 15. I can't go that far. My y-intercept's negative 5. And my slope is up 1 over 3 in it. And, oh, that's not 3. So notice my constant rate of change, I would be going up 1, right 3, wouldn't I? I'm going to draw a solid line. And notice that my y is negative in it, which is going to flip that inequality. So on this line right here, I would shade down, wouldn't I? Remember, if your y is negative, if I divided by that negative 3, it would flip the inequality. Some of y'all missed that on your exam. On the next one, we have negative 2 and negative 3, so x is equal to negative 2. Let me do this one in purple. So x is equal to negative 3, y is equal to negative 2. My slope's negative 2 over 3, which is going to do this. It's going to be a solid line. Okay, and remember you have 4 pieces, right? Piece 1, piece 2, piece 3, piece 4. Since we're going down, it's got to be piece 3 or 4, right? Piece 1 and 2 are above the green line. So we're going to double shade one of the bottom pieces. Now then on this one, the y is positive and it's greater than, so we need to shade up. So the purple line will be shaded up, which eliminates part 2, but does not eliminate part, eliminates part 3, but not part 4. So part 4 would be double shaded. Now then to show this, the green line would be shaded down, and the purple line would be shaded up, wouldn't it? So this piece right here would be double shaded, wouldn't it? okay, or part 4, right? All of the ordered pairs in that section would make both of the inequalities true. That's what that means. All of the ordered pairs in this section, all of them would make it false. So if you put any ordered pair in this section into the equations, they would both be false. And lastly, let's do number 16. Hasn't this been fun? I'm so glad I'm back with you. Missed you a whole bunch over the holidays. I hope you've enjoyed this. Okay, let's go through this. We're going to find the slope, okay? So underline function of y is gizzards and x is money. So y is on top of it. Okay, so remember the slope is y over x. So we're going to put our y's on top and our x's on bottom. Okay, so our draw fraction bar minus minus, I would use this point. I would use this one because there's no decimals. And let's use this one. Okay, so we're going to do 10 minus 4. That's our y minus y. And 4 minus 1.6. Okay, so we're going to get 6 over 2.4. So I'm going to go to my calculator, and I'm going to do another calculator here. This one, 6 divided by 2.4. 6 divided by 2.4 equals 2.5. Now then, since this has money, we're going to leave it as a decimal. So 2.5. That means it's going to be, the slope of this table would be 2.5 gizzards per dollar. That means 2.5 gizzards. If you have $1, you can get 2.5 gizzards. Now then, if we divided every single time, it would work with it. If we divided 4 by 1.6, let's just do this. 4 divided by 1.6, and what do you get? You get 2.5. Let's divide 6 by 2.4. 6 divided by 2.4, you get 2.5. 10 divided by 2.4, right? Or divided by 4, you get, not 10 divided by 10, 10 divided by 4, you get 2.5. And lastly, 16 divided by 6.4. Notice if I divide by y by my x, I always get 2.5, which is the slope or the constant rate of change. Since that does not change, it has direct variation, doesn't it? Also, if it has direct variation, if you were to cross multiply, they would be equal. The table is proportional, right? So yes, this table has direct variation because the slope is constantly 2.5 every y divided by x. Just remember, this table could have the y on top and the x's on bottom, just like this problem. So make sure you're underlining function of and getting your y and x. Y is a function of x. Wow, that was a blast, wasn't it? I hope you have enjoyed this. Let me stop recording here. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Glad you're back. I know you're getting a smile on your face. Hope you've enjoyed this. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. You haven't heard this in a long time. You are amazing. You are created to do wonderful things, and you are awesome.